President Trump is ratcheting up his attacks on the mainstream media, slamming NBC over what he says is a fake news story that claims he wanted a tenfold increase in the nation's nuclear arsenal. Watch.
It's frankly disgusting the way the press is able to write whatever they want to write, and people should look into it.
He also tweeted, network news has become so partisan, distorted, and fake that licenses must be challenged and, if appropriate, revoked. Not fair to the public. But Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff says this.
It harkens back to when he described the mainstream press as the enemy of the people. The president asked, at what point is it appropriate to take away a news outlet's license because they criticize the president? I can tell him the point. It's the point where we become a dictatorship and we're no longer a democracy and we have no First Amendment, and we're never going to allow that to happen here.
I'm joined by Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano, who often comes in on Outnumbered with a great laugh.
Right? This is not a laughing matter.
This is not a laughing matter. And I'm curious, first of all, where the president stands, because that's been the big question, and the First Amendment.
I am hoping that the president was arguing by hyperbole, because if you take literally what the president was saying, we must silence members of the press who say things that are wrong. That is not the role of government, and Congressman Schiff is quite correct. The First Amendment insulates the press from any censorship whatsoever, including and especially censorship of political statements and the substance of those statements. So for the president to say television stations should lose their licenses because they carried a broadcast that was critical of him and that was factually erroneous is not in the president's job description.
So the president obviously has the bully pulpit, but he did not say he's going to see to it that these licenses are ripped away. I just want to talk about how intent comes into play here. He's allowed to voice his views.
Yes, well, that's very interesting. The president has First Amendment rights like the rest of us, but when he says things like, we're going to look into it, that can have what's called a chilling effect. Chilling is a technical phrase in constitutional parlance, meaning people become afraid to express their political views for fear of incurring the wrath of the government. So the government doesn't silence them, but the government gets so in their face with threats that they're afraid to express themselves fully. And the Supreme Court has condemned chilling. Now, I don't know why the president did that, other than he was angry and maintains that what NBC says he said he in fact did not say. But the remedy for erroneous speech is not to silence it or punish it. The remedy is more speech.
Right, and to shine a light on that, and sometimes let the free market decide whether or not they're going to watch NBC or whatever.
The free market in
right?
ideas, right, exactly.
Right. So I want to tell you what kind of a legal friend I have at the desk. I have notes written out by you. It's like a legal brief, and I appreciate that, because I don't know that I would necessarily know as much detail about the U.S. Supreme Court.
Part of my happy job here.
Oh, and I appreciate that. But you had some notes about the U.S. Supreme Court and their role in all of this.
Yes. The U.S. Supreme Court has consistently interpreted the First Amendment so as to permit and encourage open, wide, robust, quote, even caustic debate about the policies of the government and the people that are in the government. In no circumstance would it permit the government to censor the press because it has made a mistake or even because it was intentionally wrong. That's just not the role of government under the First Amendment.
And you wrote this: the essence of a free person is the ability to think as you wish and say what you think.
And publish what you say, because we're talking about the press here. Yes, that's not me. That's Thomas Jefferson, and that's the Supreme Court in the past 200 years.
Even if they get it wrong, even if they suppress the truth?
Yes. We only had one 2.5-year period in American history where the government could punish you or punish the press when they got it wrong. That was the Alien and Sedition Acts in 1798. They expired 3 years later, and thanks be to God, we have never repeated that dark episode.
You know, I said on Outnumbered earlier, and boy, that was a heated conversation. And
I saw it. It was heated. It was illuminating as well as heated.
Which part of that conversation jumped out at you? Because at one point we were talking about the FCC, and Juan Williams and I were going back and forth, and I said, you know, there is an agency that deals with equal time on issues, and that's for broadcast, it's not for cable.
Okay, but equal time is not the law any longer. And the
certainly not for cable.
Correct. And the FCC does not deal with content unless the content violates a statute, like it's pornographic or it's obscene.
Or there's 7 words we can't say.
Correct. It does not deal with political content. It profoundly doesn't do that, and the Supreme Court wouldn't allow it, because the FCC is the government, and the First Amendment keeps the government and free speech about as far apart from each other as possible.
All right, real quickly before I let you go, not too much to put you on the spot, but I'm going to. You talk to the president every now and then. Is this an area where he should step into?
I wish he wouldn't. I know that sometimes he gets angry. I wish after he gets angry at people, like with Senator Corker, he should hug them.
Oh, you're so sweet. Okay,
So
I don't know
if he's
many
listening,
politicians that feel that way, but
that's my
great.
humble, non-constitutional, non-legal advice.
Legal neutral. Judge, always a pleasure.
Pleasure's
Thank
mine,
you.
Harris.